A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Before the feast of Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to pass from this world to the Father. He loved his own in the world, and he loved them to the end. The devil had already induced Judas, son of Simon the Iscariot, to hand him over. So during supper, fully aware that the Father had put everything into his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God, he rose from supper and took off his outer garments. He took a towel and tied it around his waist. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and dry them with the towel around his waist. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Master, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered and said to him, "What I am doing you do not understand now, but you will understand later." Peter said to him, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus answered him, "Unless I wash you, you will have no inheritance with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Master, then not only my feet, but my hands and head as well." Jesus said to him, "Whoever has bathed has no need except to have his feet washed, for he is clean all over. So you are clean, but not all." For he knew who would betray him. For this reason he said, "Not all of you are clean." So when he had washed their feet and put his garments back on and reclined at table again, he said to them, "Do you realize what I have done for you? You call me teacher and master, and rightly so, for indeed I am. If I, therefore, the master and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash one another's feet. I have given you a model to follow, so that as I have done for you, you should also do." The Gospel of the Lord.
As a kid, my favorite subject in school was history. I loved history. And I know it started when I was in the 4th grade, and my school took us on a 2-day trip to Williamsburg and Jamestown. How insane was that? 4th graders on a school overnight, 2 nights, 4 10-year-olds to a hotel room. But it was great, and it spurred my love of history. Well, the past 3 nights, a powerful piece of history was shown on TV. Public television's The Great War. It's part of the American Experience series, and if you've ever watched it, you know that they are incredibly well-made documentaries. Why a show on World War I now? Well, this year marks the 100th anniversary of America's entry into the Great War. The makers of the documentary tell the story through the voices of those who were there, ordinary people, and using their writings as well as photographs and newsreels, bring the event back to life. Those who've watched it see uncanny parallels to issues challenging America and our world today, like issues of race and immigration, foreign entanglements, ethnic conflict, chemical weapons, war and peace. The filmmakers depict a defining moment in our history and show us that by remembering where we were, we can stay true to ourselves. We can learn from the past and grow. As human beings, we have a real need to remember things. Just think of the last family celebration you attended. How many cameras were pulled out to capture the event? When something newsworthy happens anywhere, including on an airplane, the cell phones come out, and within seconds, the video goes viral. We have photo albums, more and more of them online, so we can look back and remember what happened where and when. We don't want to forget who was there or what took place. Remembering roots us in the present and keeps our identity sure. And without it, we can easily lose sight of our purpose in life and what matters most. Tonight we celebrate Holy Thursday and three things that Jesus instituted at the Last Supper: the priesthood, the call to service, and the Eucharist. And in celebrating the Mass, this Mass or any Mass, we remember what Jesus did 2,000 years ago. But the Mass is not a historical reenactment. We aren't like costume characters at Williamsburg telling you what happened way back when. And the Mass is not like a grainy newsreel or a viral video of the Last Supper. No, the Church teaches that this Mass and every Mass is a continual sacrifice of the Last Supper. It is ongoing. A better understanding of what happens around this altar is to view it almost like a time machine. The Mass takes us back to the Last Supper because Christ is as present here and now as he was there and then. And so the effect can be just as powerful for us as it was for his apostles in that upper room. I believe that if every Catholic truly understood this, really understood it deep down, no one would ever forget or ever take the Mass for granted. So unlike the event depicted on TV that is over and done, the Mass is never over. It's never done, but always ongoing, ever new, because Christ is truly here. So what can you do to make certain you always do this in memory of Christ? How can you grow in your appreciation for the Eucharist? Two things can help you remember. Two things: devotion and sacrifice. Devotion and sacrifice. Here's what I mean. Devotion in the sense that you are committed to Mass. Committed by being present, obviously. You can never grow in your devotion to Christ if you don't show up. So being present is first. Your presence needs to be a priority. You schedule your week around Mass because you know Christ is truly present here in the Word and in the Eucharist. And once you are present, you need to be committed. Committed through your prayerfulness and your participation. So often folks will confess getting distracted at Mass. With everything going on in our world and in our lives, it can happen to all of us. On any day, for any given Mass, you might be walking through the doors of the church with so much weighing upon you. Family issues, personal struggles, work problems. You might feel beat down by the wars raging around you, the personal battles that you're facing. And you bring all of that with you to worship. Maybe it's how you're feeling right now. Now, this can be a great opportunity for prayer, if you let it be, but it can distract and cause you to miss Christ speaking to you here. So here's just one suggestion to help you be more prayerful and aid with your participation. When you come to church for Mass, settle in the pew and offer a simple act of surrender. Just sit down, or pull out the kneeler, look up at the crucifix, and turn it over to Christ, praying like this: Lord, I'm distracted by what's happening in my life. And then name it, whatever it is. I turn it over to you now. Please take this concern so I can be more devoted to you in this Mass and receive the message and the blessings you want for my life. As simple as that. And any time you find yourself getting distracted, make your act of surrender again. When we pause in the prayer of the faithful for our personal intentions, offer it again. Try it. It works. So that's just one suggestion to help you with devotion. The second thing I mentioned to help you remember what Mass is all about is sacrifice. And by that I mean sacrificing yourself in service to God and others. In just a moment, I will wash the feet of 12 parishioners who volunteer in our mission activities. which is service done outside these four walls. Those participating tonight give their time at SUM, a soup kitchen in D.C. They also volunteer with Habitat for Humanity, and they do service here in the Bowie community. They remind us that service is something that every single one of us must do. It's not just for those who feel like it or who have the time or energy. Everyone must serve someone in some way. When Jesus knelt to wash the feet of his disciples, what did he say? I've given you a model to follow, so that as I have done, so you also should do. In fact, one authentic sign of your devotion to the Eucharist you receive in here is how you serve those in need out there. A true disciple is committed to both, devotion and service, and you need both. If you're not serving, resolve tonight in this Mass to get involved in something, anything. We make you aware of all the opportunities to serve through St. Pius, and I know that many of you are incredibly generous and deeply committed. But if you aren't, let this Holy Thursday be the day that you can always remember as the start of your service, the day you decided to follow Christ's model. Do this in memory of me. Tonight we recommit ourselves to Christ, who is truly present in the Eucharist. And every Mass for us can be a defining moment in our lives, in our personal history, reminding us who we are. And with that memory, we can stay true to our calling and grow as disciples. By remembering, we take. We remember by giving. May the power of this sacred meal help us to share Christ, the bread of life, every single day. Amen.